Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to FishOfHex. My name is Travis. Today's video we're going to be troubleshooting the calcium reactor here on the 300-gallon reef. And basically over the last 30 days or so I've been getting a reduction in the flow via the FMM module. It's been going from about 4.5 gallons per hour to 2.5, so there's definitely something going on here that's causing it to clog up, so we're going to figure that out. So here's the FMM module. It's just on the output of the calcium reactor, and it just kind of gives me an idea if there's anything going on. When I had it installed originally, it was because we were using this gate valve that comes with the Geo's reactor, and before I upgraded and went to a DC pump and opened that all the way up, I was getting clogging in this valve. So that's why I installed the FMM module, so I could basically figure it out before it became an issue. And yeah, so over the last 30 days, it's been dropping down again from that 4.5 to 2.5. So there's definitely something going on with the system. So what I'm kind of leaning towards is that the pump just needs to be cleaned. So we're going to do that first. We're going to take this pump out, take it apart, just kind of see if it's dirty, and then put it back together and see what we get for flow. And then if that doesn't work, we're going to troubleshoot the reactor. Maybe the media is too dense. Maybe there's something in there that's causing it to clog. We're going to check all the fittings, check the FMM module, see if that thing's dirty or clogged up or restricting flow. Either way, we're going to figure that out today. Also got to top off. The media is getting lower in that, so I gotta go ahead and get that done. I finally kind of transitioned over to this media. I actually went to extra coarse. I had coarse before, and I went to extra coarse, which is coarsier. It's just a bigger media. It's a little bit easier to work with. And you guys know that I don't use what the heck is it, Reborn anymore because I couldn't find it. It's supposed to be coming back in stock, but either way, this stuff works out fine. Anyway, yeah. So let's go ahead and first take out this feed pump. We're going to clean it and see if that's the issue. Okay, so let's go ahead and get in here and get this thing out. All right. Pretty easy to disconnect with the RO line there. Looks pretty dirty. You guys can see that I have my strainer for my Chato taken off. It just clogs up too much, so I just keep it off. So that's probably why there's a little bit of Chato in here. But anyway, for those of you wondering why I decided to go with a DC pump instead of the original C-Chain that was on here was because, as I mentioned, that gate valve kept clogging. Just straight up kept clogging, and I just got sick of it. And my buddy, like I said, I put a video on this. My buddy said that, yeah, this is dirty, that it was easier to use a DC pump. It's a little bit more controllability, and it worked out fine. This is definitely dirty. You can see, yeah, that's probably the problem right there. I'm going to take this upstairs. Actually, no, I could put it in a bucket right here. I'm going to put some water in a bucket and take care of it. Either way, moving to a feed pump for the DC feed pump, it's just a lot easier. There's no restriction in flow, and then all you got to really do is clean the pump. So, yeah. So let me get some water for this, a 5-gallon bucket, and we'll go ahead and clean it out, and then put it back together and test it real quick. Okay, so let's get this pump in here real quick. I just pulled out the cord. I didn't unplug anything. Just put it in here real quick. So back to what I was saying. The DC pump is just easier to control. The controller itself allows you to adjust the flow going through it. Plus, you can have a little bit higher flow, which is nice. That helps to kind of avoid any clogging issues. And like I said, really the only issue you're going to have is you have to clean the pump, and we have to do that anyway. So, and that's even with the regular C-Chain. So, it's been really good so far. I enjoyed it. I told you guys I'd give you an update on it. I guess this is kind of close to that. But, yeah, I mean, it works out fine, with the exception that it's a little bit clogged up with the reduction in flow here from being dirty, but that's okay. I guess we can check this inlet. It looks fine. There's nothing in there. Nothing crazy. But yeah, so this is just general maintenance. If you have a calcium reactor, you should be cleaning the feed pump at least every 6 months anyway, just for, you know, good habit. But it's not too difficult, obviously, you can see here. So what to talk about? Well, the weather outside's good today. It's sunny. Probably gonna go fly the drones a little bit later. I do have to get out to the range today. And I'm gonna get up there. I got some new. I got a new lineman's belt and a new tree tether for the tree saddle. So I'm gonna try that out today. So I know that's not reef related, but that's all I got to talk about. So I usually get in here with if you have a biopellet reactor, which I don't have, but if you have one, you'll notice that a brush won't be good enough to clean the inside. You're going to have to get something to scrape that hard encrusting bacteria film off. That's something I get questions about often is, hey, what's this film on the inside of my pump? If you have a biopellet reactor, your pumps are all going to do that. I remember on the 125 I had pumps with, I had a biopellet reactor and I had to deal with that with my pumps. But yeah, if you have one, you definitely want to be cleaning at least every, I don't know, 6 months at the latest. Because I knew that if you wait a year, 8 months to a year, you're gonna have some issues. Make sure the seal's clean. Looks pretty good now. Looks a lot better than it did. And get in there and just see if you can feel the film. There's nothing going on there. So, all right, put this back together real quick. Hopefully you guys can't see my nuts in my shorts hanging in there. But yeah, this DC pump has been rocking since I got it. Just got to be able to figure out how to put it back together. Here we go. It's actually relatively cheap too. I think it's, I don't know, $100. Oh, you know what I'm doing wrong? It'll help if I move that out of the way. Oh, great job. There we go. I don't do this because I'm a genius. I do this because I have no choice. Anyways, that's good. So let me go ahead and throw back in the sump, and I'm going to turn it on, and then we'll check out the flow meter and see if it's any different. Okay, so we're here in the apex. You guys can see that it says 2.8, which is just a little bit higher than it was originally. Basically just bouncing around. You guys can see throughout the last few days, it's just kind of staying down still. So we just cleaned that pump, and it's still a 2.8, 2.7, so that's not the issue. Now let's go ahead and move over to the FMM module, take that apart and clean it, because those are known to get clogged and give you a false reading. So let's do that. Okay, so here is the FMM. We're gonna just disconnect it real quick from there. Don't have to make too big of a mess. And then this side, hopefully I don't lose too much or too much water everywhere. Anyway, I'm gonna move this over here. So they're pretty easy to clean. Adjust the camera. Just go ahead and take off these 4 screws. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall this. Got a little bit of leakage here coming from the reactor. It's just pressure building up. It's nothing crazy. So let's find our input here. Alright, so I'll put this back on the reactor. Get the shop vac out, clean up that little mess. It's not too bad. A little bit of water. What do you expect, right? So we'll see if this works. Let me go ahead and turn the flow on and we'll check it out. Okay, so I'm back after cleaning the flow sensor, and yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. So we're still at like 2.5 gallons per hour. So cleaning the sensor and cleaning the pump itself, those were not the issue. So let's go ahead and continue our troubleshooting. Now I will swap out this flow sensor, or FMM module flow sensor, a little bit later, but I don't think that's the problem. The reason why I say that is because I've had to adjust my pH down in my calcium reactor to make up for the lack of flow over the last month or so. So I really don't think it's the actual sensor, but I'm going to swap it out just in case. I got a new one in the bag, so we'll try that out. The next thing I did is I went ahead and removed this piece of plastic, which is actually goes on the output of the calcium reactor, just to kind of see, and the flow stayed the same, so that's not clogging there. This tubing has been replaced a few months ago, so that's not the issue. Double check the fittings here on the pump. Those are all clean. That's not the issue. And it really kind of leads me to the media. So we're going to test that. So how are you going to test that the media is clogging? Well, I think it's the secondary chamber. You can see that this is pretty compact. I mean, it's crazy. So what I'm going to do is bypass the second chamber, go directly from the first one through the FMM module with this little fitting, and we're going to see if that's the issue. If it is, then I know I'm just going to clean out this, dump out the rest of this media, because it got too fine. After breaking down, it just got too fine, and it's not allowing enough flow. And what I'll do is I'll just replace it with some of that regular coarse media as a gas off chamber. So we're going to find out. So let's do that. Okay, so this is pretty simple. I just grabbed a little bit of extra RO tubing, and we're just going to bypass that. So just disconnect the main chamber. Make sure you turn off the feed pump. I will admit I have not done that at least once during this video. And we got water all over the place. So now it's just time to bypass that. Plug in the FMM module to here. So now we're going to turn it on and see what kind of flow we get directly from the main chamber. Alright, so as you guys can see, the flow went up to 2.8, so from 2.5 to 2.8. Yeah, so that's not the issue either. So let's go ahead and try something else. I'm thinking I'm going to do the same thing, but for the smaller chamber. So bypass the large one, go directly through here and see if the flow is any different through the smaller chamber. And I'm not talking about just a little bit of a change of flow, like 2.5 with both chambers and then 2.8 with one chamber, that doesn't tell you anything. So we're just going to see if maybe the main chamber is clogged by doing the same kind of flow test over the secondary chamber. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've done a couple things since the last take, and I just want to explain everything. I actually found the problem. As you can see, there's a new tube there. But anyway, I went ahead and tested the smaller chamber with the original feed line coming from the pump, and the flow was still 2.8. So to recap everything that we did to find the issue, we cleaned the feed pump, the DC feed pump. We cleaned the FMN module flow sensor. No issues with that. We double checked the smaller chamber to see if that was clogging the flow. We also checked the media in the larger chamber by doing the same test, same results. Now the last thing I was going to do, and just figured I'd give it a shot, is swap out the feed tubing. So let's see what the flow is now. It's there's water everywhere, there's trash everywhere. It's a fish room. But 6.2, that's a huge difference. So 6.2 flow with swapping out that tubing itself. So there might be something clogging the inside of the tubing. I changed it out probably 6 months ago. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this new tube in the back. I'm going to reconnect everything. We'll come back and see if it made any difference in fixing the problem. But I think it's good. I think that is the problem. So let me go ahead and do that. We'll be right back. Okay, so I have everything connected, but I still have to top off the reactors before we turn everything on. So pretty easy process. Just come here, take some of this water out. That way I don't make a bigger mess. You guys get to see the fish room. I'll show you exactly the mess that I made during this whole process. It's pretty common. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of water out of each chamber and come here and top them off. All right. This has already been rinsed. You can see there's still a little bit of residue on the bottom, but I rinsed the stuff when I set it up originally. Not too bad. Leave some room for the pH probe. All right, and then I might just throw the rest in there. The mess continues. But yeah, so let's go and put the covers on. Make sure there's no crusties on the ring. So I'm excited to see what this turns out to be. Hopefully it fixed the problem. Now there is going to be a whole nother battle. If this fixes the issue, which again we're going to find out here in a second, there's the whole next step of making sure the tank stays stable with the pH adjustment we're going to have to make in the calcium reactor. Of course, keep an eye on the flow. I'll probably have to dial it down for a little while. And then let the tank stabilize, keep an eye on the alkalinity, and then bring it back up to where it was. It's just going to be different because it's been a month since this started going down. Of course, there's still growth and everything going on, so just need to make sure we don't cause any major fluctuations. So this one's a little bit of a pain because there's that tube, that piping that wasn't there when I originally designed the sump. Actually, let me make sure this crusty's off there. So I added this piping when I added the other tanks, so that makes this whole process a little more difficult. That's not too bad. Just tighten this up. And we'll be right back. Okay, so now that that's done, let's plug that in, and let's turn her on. That's what she said. Okay, so I just went ahead and turned everything back on and double checked for leaks. This isn't a leak from the reactor, that's me just making a mess. But I wanted to show you guys real quick the tubing that I removed, and you can see that it's pretty dirty. It's only a few months old, and it already clogged up and got dirty. So keep an eye on that, and you know, this could definitely be the issue. At least it was for me. So let's go and move over to the computer and see what kind of flow we got going through both reactors with the media being topped off. That's my ass cushion. Spent a lot of time in this seat. And you can see it's at 5.6, which is pretty high. So what I'm going to do now is turn this light off right there. I'm going to go and dial down the flow to about 3.7, 3.5, 3.7 on the feed pump controller. So I'm going to do that after we get off the video here. And then the next thing I'm going to do, which I just might as well do right now, is I'm going to go ahead and put my carbon doser back to what it was originally. And that was at, I usually sit between 6.9 and 6.95, and we'll let it go back to its normal range. Now, of course, these are just basic changes that I'm making to go back to what was working before the issue, and that's something you're going to want to think about when you do this yourself. Is kind of revert back to what you were originally doing, so you don't have any issues. Now, if I was to leave the pH that low in the carbon doser or in the reactor and kept the flow this high, I would get a huge spike in alkalinity. I guarantee you. So I'm going to keep an eye on it now. It's at 8.84, which isn't horrible, and we're just going to monitor it over the next few days, and of course make any changes to the flow via the feed pump controller and or the carbon doser, which I don't think I'll have to do anytime soon because there's a ton of flow. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do I make changes on flow, or sorry, on the alkalinity if the pump is maxed out? So say we're at 5.7, the pump can't go any faster. Now, if you're still dropping in alkalinity, all you got to do is come over and drop the pH in the carbon doser. That's it. That's all you got to do is drop it down. I would go probably at 6.90 and then 6.85, and then see kind of what you get from that, and then eventually go down, keep going down and down and down. There will be a point where you can't go any lower because you might melt the media, and you can't go any faster with the feed pump, so then you kind of have to get a bigger reactor, and that's where sizing your reactor for your build is important in the beginning. So that's it. My chair squeaking, and what a process, but the problem has been solved. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and now I got a huge mess to clean up and a bunch of orders to ship. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, let me know, and I will see you later. Peace.